Hello, and welcome to Insightful Conversations with your host, Three Principles practitioner, Del Adey-Jones. Join her each week as she welcomes some of the world's leading Three Principles teachers and practitioners who share how this understanding has dramatically improved the quality of their lives and the lives of those they work with.
I'm so thrilled to have with me today the loving life coach, Amanda O'Shea. Amanda is a dedicated transformational coach with over 25 years' experience in the provision of holistic healthcare. She had her own life-changing experience in 2013 after being introduced a year earlier to the understanding of the three principles. Amanda loves helping others and currently shares the inside-out understanding in the world of recovery and speaks regularly at conferences and seminars. In addition, she is the host of the Serendipity Experience, 90 and 90, where she has 90 powerful little conversations with 90 fabulous people over 90 days. Her latest project, bringing the iHeart training into Spain, commences very soon. Hi, Amanda. That was a mouthful. God, I'm exhausted just hearing about everything you're doing.
Hello, Del. Thank you so much. Thank you. Absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, pleasure for me too. It really is. Just spent some lovely time together in Javier in Spain. So
yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was lovely.
It was
lovely
beautiful.
to spend time and meet your family and go to the Viva event. And it was all really special.
Yeah, it was. So I love your coaching, Loving Life. How did that come about?
I think it was just kind of a twist really on the life coach title. So that's often the title, talk about sort of what I do, and people say, oh, you're a life coach, and I say, what kind of? I'm a loving life coach, so it's loving life. That's what I want to share with people. I just want to share with people how to fall back in love with life, how to love life more, how to have an easier journey maybe. And I guess that's what we all do. I guess that's what you're doing here, right? These insightful conversations, which are also amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I think when we come across this understanding, all we want to do is just share it. It's just, however we can. So I want to know more about what was life like for you before you came across the understanding?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't necessarily have big troubles, or I often hear about people who have got into the three principles or the inside out understanding because they were depressed, or they had addictions, or they had big traumas. And that wasn't really my story. My story was I was a happy girl. I've always been of that sort of happy disposition, really. But my mind was very, very busy. I had an extremely busy mind. And I would say truthfully that I did not understand what this peace of mind was until about 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, wow. And you'd already been around this understanding for how long by then?
Really, that's what happened. What happened was I was introduced to, again, like it's a sort of serendipitous, the way that we come across this. But I was introduced via a friend called Sheila, the organizer of the Viva event. And she sent me one of her little newsletters, as we do, send out these newsletters. And I guess something just caught my eye. And Sheila was the lady who was responsible for bringing Jack Pransky over into Europe and setting up these extended professional trainings that Jack did. So I just kind of went along to one of those. There was just a little hour's chat one night up in Albia, about 45 minutes away from where I live in Spain. And it was wonderful, and I loved it, and I thought Jack was very sweet, and there was a nice feeling in the room, and he was talking a lot about thought, and the typical sort of Amanda character was like, oh yeah, I know all about that, because I'd done lots of studying and lots of searching and seeking, and I'd read all the Louise Hay and The Secret and all these kind of things, and the Four Agreements and all those kinds of books. Many books after many years of traveling and many years of studying massage and reflexology and Reiki and being in that kind of world, in every spiritual group that you could imagine I joined.
Sounds like my life story.
They're all pretty similar, right?
I know.
You know, they're all pretty similar. And so that really got in my way, Dale. You know, it was really, I see that, I know that. Oh, I know this stuff. I actually missed it. Yeah. You know, I missed what was being pointed to because I jumped into my, I know all about thought. Yeah, I know all about that. So I'm really, when I share, I'm always very curious, or I'm always, I find that I really introduce people to deep listening quite early on because I like to point what I saw got in my way. Yeah. And I see that's quite a common denominator that people jump to the, oh, I know that. And it's very clear to me now that I didn't know that back then. And it's very clear to me when I sit in a room with people that are talking about their troubles and strifes and with a sense that, you know, they kind of understand it all. And I see the misunderstanding. I see that, and I have a lot of compassion for that character that's very similar to the Amanda character, because that's exactly what happened. I got in my own way.
Yeah. Well, I did in a similar setting. I mean, I love that it took me so long for the penny to drop, because I had so many sort of, you know, yes, but this, yes, but that. You know, I was going through a very tumultuous time in my life with, you know, my mother dying, my sister dying, and it seemed like a lot of real life out there was impacting me, and it wasn't just, you know, via my thinking. But I think that's such a gift, because it's given me so much compassion and patience with people that are resistant to hearing something or come up with these sort of buts. You know, it's wonderful. I'm so grateful for that. But I want to go back to what you said. So you say deep listening. So for people listening that might not, I mean, I know deep listening from Jack myself, but describe a little more what deep listening is for people listening in.
Well, I just explain it the way that I understand it, or the way that I see it. So deep listening for me is listening beyond the words, you know, listening for a feeling, listening to what sort of level of consciousness somebody is hanging out in. It's not about listening and repeating back to me what I've just said. It's really being present. It's really being in clarity. It's being, as Jack would call it, an empty vessel. You know, if when I see what gets in the way of my own deep listening, when I can catch myself that I'm being distracted, or I find that impulse to want to answer or interrupt or hijack the story or come in with that, you know, I did that, or I did it different, or this or that. Just that, those, you know, that I very much had that, a lot of those pulses years ago. And I used to really think I was doing a good job giving advice and being very helpful and telling people how I would do it or how I thought they should do it. And I can hear the voice, you know, well, if I was you, this is what I would. And so really, I'm very grateful to Jack Pransky for, I did 3 years sort of training with Jack Pransky on his extended professional trainings. And a couple of those years, I suppose we were more of a kind of taking a step back, more of a mentoring, more of an observer in Jack's, the last sort of 2 years. And I learned a lot from just seeing that actually what Jack did a lot was just listen. You know, just listen. And I was so excited. I remember the first time that I was listening to, like, say, Jack Pransky doing a coaching session, and I was invited in to be a fly on the wall in a lot of his sessions. And that's what happened. There wasn't so much said. And Jack was always telling me, you know, it's not, people don't have insights, Manu, when you're talking. They have insights when they're talking. You know, when you're listening. And so, yeah, he was really good to kind of, he kept nudging me and pushing me, sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently, to talk less and listen more.
Wow. Oh my
God. And I talk enough as it is, you know. But I used to really talk a lot, really. So I get that character too when they come in, the really chatty ones, the ones that fill the silences.
Yeah.
Because that was me. I really thought that I'm quite a confident character. So I thought that I was really doing the whole world a favour, or the whole class a favour, or the whole room a favour. When it went silent, I thought, oh, nobody knows what to say. That's all right, I can say something. So I was the gap filler, right? I was the gap filler.
Oh my God, I love that. It's so true. I mean, it's, you know, silence scares some of us. We feel we have to, that it's awkward, but it's not. It's so beautiful to just take that pause to contemplate. And you described it beautifully. Thank you so much. That was really, really so beautiful. And that's, what I experienced too when Jack, was teaching us the sort of, the deep listening. I just wanted to clarify it, but it really is listening for the feeling. And again, I noticed too that the more quiet we are and the more that you let the other person talk, they find their own answers. They find them for themselves, and that's where the insight is, not by us, providing it for them. It's allowing them to find those moments. So, okay, so you work in the area of recovery. So how do you share the principles? Like, just give me some. I love it when you talk about sort of like real stories of transformation when people come in and they're so resistant or they haven't a clue what you're talking about. So can you give us a little example of what some of the people are when they come to you, and how do you share this understanding with them?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's different. We get all sorts of different people. We're quite a high-end treatment centre where I'm currently working, and people from all over the world, and people who have maybe been in recovery for some time. And I often hear when people come in, I often hear people saying, I've never heard this before. I've been in recovery for a number of years. I've never heard this before. And I have no qualms with saying I feel like I've got the biggest secret in the world of recovery. Or I've got the biggest secret in the universe. Or I really, because I really see it, and I see that to be true. And so what I tend to do, Del, is I don't talk about their addictions. I let the other guys do that stuff. I just talk about what I see to be true. So it depends. I do groups and I do one-to-ones, and I only do one-to-ones with people that want to do one-to-ones with me. So, we always have a few groups, and I always say, if there's something you hear that's curious to you, if there's something that is resonating with you, if there's something that really isn't, I ask them to get curious. Two things: something that feels like you don't even know what I'm talking about, but you might think there's some truth in it, or that little voice that says, what a load of rubbish, or that can't be true. Well, if that was true, everybody would know it's, true. I ask them to get curious with both of those types of kind of reactions, if you like. And then I don't do anything else really, but share the principles. And I suppose I just, whatever title pops into my head, there might be a few titles that we talk about that are quite interesting for people, like deep listening, or recovery and discovery, or difficult people, or finding common denominators with people. And just as it goes along, we start to look at what is thought, what is wisdom, what is love, where do feelings truly come from. I've got a workshop tomorrow called Being Kind, and just taking them away really, because they have so much, there's so much chat about the addiction, and I want to point them to the fact that they're not broken. I want to point them to the fact that I work from a health model really, more than a fear model. I like to get that rapport. I like to just feel that, be in that presence of love. So I do a lot of stuff like just invite people to come on a dog walk with me.
Lovely.
Just the really simple things, and have those little chats after breakfast or lunch or dinner. we're a residential centre, and it's really lovely. We're very lucky, or I feel very lucky, because people come in maybe for 28 days or 3 months or 5 months. There's not this panic. There's not this panic that they have to hear something. There's not this panic that that we need to program, when they're going to hear it and how they're going to hear it. It can just kind of be a bit more free flow,
exactly.
which is really, it's a lovely position to be in.
Yeah, I mean, just that's the truth, though. I mean, we can't control when somebody hears something or not. We just can't. We just got to share and have no agenda, and just if they hear something and it impacts their life and it makes their life easier and they suffer less, then that's wonderful. But you're right, we can't have an attachment to reaching people and an agenda on a time scale of when it should happen by. Yeah, it's really interesting. I often think I was in therapy unlike you, I was not a very happy child. I had a lot of issues growing up, or lived in an environment that was very challenging. And I had a lot of issues, and I was in therapy for about 30 years, and it's nothing against therapy, but what I realized it did, it helped me understand my thinking. It helped me see what was blocking me. But it couldn't give me the keys to get out of my own prison, and it just couldn't. And once I came across this understanding, it was truly like, oh my God, I've been sort of pacing in this self-imposed cell, and all of a sudden I had the key to get out. I had the key to move beyond that and live a completely different life. And prior to that, I had no idea. I was just sort of, in my story, very, very deeply in my story. So I wanted talking about that, because I know we chatted when we were in Spain that it's like, why do we have to wait till people are either in recovery centers or in the prison system, and how important it is to get this teaching or understanding out to the younger people. And I know that you and I share that passion. And just like you're bringing the iHeart into Spain. I'm going to be bringing it into the Los Angeles area, or the west coast of California, in April. But share a bit about how that came about for you, because you were my inspiration, 100%.
That's great, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting. I had a retreat. I host a retreat down in southern Spain, normally in the sort of early spring, and there was a few facilitators I brought 3 facilitators in with me, and a couple of them had mentioned iHeart, and one of them had done the iHeart training, and there were another couple of sort of 3 principals facilitators who were guests on the retreat, and they were talking about iHeart, and it just kept cropping up, this name iHeart. And then I went to the London 3 Principals Conference in May and or June, and the iHeart team were there, and they did this wonderful presentation that really touched me. So it was just what happened one day. I think I was at the treatment centre, and I felt like I was trying to sell, or I was having a conversation, and it felt like people weren't really, there's a couple of people, they were older than me, and they weren't really interested in what I was talking about. And that thought just popped into my head: what am I doing? Trying to convince 2 people who've made. I wasn't trying to convince them, but it was just the flow of the conversation. I was trying to share something, and they were very clearly interested. And I thought, and exactly that. Why am I waiting, or why am I sat here speaking with 2 or 3 people when actually I could be speaking with, 20 or 30 younger teenagers or children? Because what happened in that conversation was people were talking about their stories about when they were 11, 12, 13. And it's all, I hear that a lot. Well, it all started when I was 12 or 13 or 14, whether it's something to do with relationships or alcohol or drugs. And I get that, because I think I was about 14 when I, started that sort of exploration. And it just, I thought, what are we doing? Why are we waiting for people to get into therapy, rehabs, like you say, prisons, hospitals, before we share something with them? Why aren't we sharing something with them now? And that got me curious. I was like, I must look at that iHeart program. And I went home and looked at the iHeart program was being shared in New York at the time, or they had recent courses in New York and in London, and the dates that they had coming up, I couldn't make those dates anyway. Mm-hmm. And then that thought popped into my head, wonder if they'd like to do one in Spain. And and that was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I just wrote that straight away, the contact, and it's like going with the flow. When something pops in our head and we've got a good feeling with it, we don't talk ourselves out of it.
Yes.
We kind of act upon it, and that's exactly what happened. And I was like, would you guys be interested in hosting a training in Spain? And they're like, sure, let's talk.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then it's up and running, and it's interesting because there's this whole world of iHeart that I probably knew nothing about, and now it's something else new has sort of entered. And that's exactly the same thing that happened with the 1990 conversation.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. I want to talk about those too.
Yeah, it popped into my head. Wow. And then if I don't get in my own way, and I know, I'm like, right, do it now.
Yeah.
Do it, put it out there now, because you'll change your mind. By tomorrow you'll realize that doing 90 conversations in 90 days is it takes a little bit of organizing.
Oh my goodness. Like I said, you put me to shame. I'm impressed when I think I do one a week. But no, they're fabulous. They're amazing. Tell our listeners what the idea of 90 and 90 came from, because I find that really interesting given the work that you do.
Yeah, so in the traditional I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing it's in the States as well.
I think so. Once I heard you talk about it, I was like, oh yeah, I think I've heard of that before. So
yeah, so in the traditional sort of fellowships of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, when people leave a treatment center and they're under the traditional kind of 12-step type programs, I hear the other counselors talking about 90 and 90, which is where they encourage people to put their recovery before anything. So that before their own jobs or relationships or families, by attending 90 meetings in 90 days. And 90, let's say if we've got a drinking issue, 90 Alcoholics Anonymous meetings in 90 days. And I remember thinking, like, often I've thought, like, that's quite a challenge. Yeah. That's quite a challenge. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll take on that challenge. But I didn't feel like, I didn't want to do 90 meetings at the fellowship meetings. I wanted to do 90 little, and then that's just what happened. And my plan was to do like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, that's not a lot. Maybe I'll just do 10 to 15 minutes. And that is like the hardest thing, to keep it small. It just didn't happen. Yeah. So it sort of went to, I was like, okay, 20 minutes.
and now I did half an hour.
Then I did one the other day in Watson, about 42 minutes. But it's just because you're having such a beautiful conversation. It's like, I don't want to stop,
No, I know.
But I do understand that people do put the longer conversations to one side sometimes because they don't have half an hour, or they don't believe they have. Whereas something's 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, they're like, okay, I'll watch that one.
It's so true. I used to have a 50-minute show, and then now I'm down to a 25-minute show, but I often feel like I'm like rushing the guests at the end, and I'm so sorry, we're running out of time now. But again, it's about reaching people, and more people I notice will watch the ones that are under 30 minutes than they will the 50-minute ones. That's just, the culture we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sure, and people do say, yeah, I've got 15 minutes, I'll take a 15-minute break. But I didn't really care. It was kind of what it is, and if one person hears something in one video, that's just amazing, right? Enough for them to get curious, enough for them to watch the other videos, enough for them to think, well, what is this 3 principles thing? What is this inside out understanding? Like, who are these people? What is this some sort of a cult, or what is it? They're the normal kind of questions sometimes.
We always say, if it's a cult, it's the happiest cult I've ever been in, and I'm staying here.
I question that, I think my family thought that I'd been, suddenly brainwashed, or I don't know. Suddenly this language was coming out of me that hadn't, and it's quite interesting to watch that. But that's what happened with the 1990, and it was really it's was 90 people who have been in my life, are currently coming into my life, who have impacted me in some way, or they resonated with me when when I thought, well, who would I like to speak to?
Now, do you have your whole 90 mapped out already, and how far in the process are you?
Yeah, I think, well, at the moment, I think I'm on number 52 or something,
Wow.
53, so more than halfway there. And there's lots of people, and it's just trying to work. People are all over the world, so it's trying to work out their time and my time. I'm in Spain, and there's been people all over the place, so it's just getting that together. But it's been really good. I'm very, very happy, and it doesn't have to be one a day. It's not that it's actually one a day, so it can be sometimes I post two, and another day I just had a weekend where I was on a retreat, so then there was 3 or 4 days where I came off all tried to, as much as possible, came off all social media, or came off of the computer. So and then I would just catch up.
What would you say? I mean, I've listened to a few of them, and they're very impactful. It's amazing what you can get in that very short time. What would you say is one of your most memorable out of the people you've interviewed already?
Oh gosh, do you know? I don't know. I love the first one.
I was about to say, I love the one you did with Marnix. It was so great. I mean, I love them all, but it was so rich. I mean, I totally agree with you. He is cute. So.
Oh, he's lovely. He's gorgeous.
So
I love him.
Sweet.
He's great. And I love that you can, isn't this amazing? Like, whoever's going to be listening to this now, I've never actually even met Marnix in real life, and so it's like, but it feels like I know him. It feels like, we talk and stuff, and it's great. So there's been a few, really. It was lovely having my daughter on.
I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, I had my daughter on, and I had an old school teacher on.
Oh my goodness.
And I had a young girl who's 10 years old who I used to baby massage. I was a baby massage practitioner,
wow.
and I knew her from when she was in her mummy's tummy, and she's doing something really incredible. And so listening to her story, and of course I had sort of, I like the ones, the friends who aren't coaches or facilitators or whatever, sort of speaking how they see life is, and their gifts to share with the world. So all of them really, because it's that whole thing of it being so different. How many different people, and a lot of those contacts have come within the principals community. And I think I like showing that. Look at us, we're all different shapes, sizes, from all different backgrounds, and yet there is a community here which is very, very special.
It really is. I love that. I know. I always call it it's like a sort of box of chocolates, You've got milk chocolate, white chocolate, dark chocolate, all different centers, but it's all 3 Ps. It's just in different forms. And even, I'm sure your school teacher probably doesn't really know the 3 principles as we talk about it. But as we know, the 3 principles are operating whether you know about them or not. We're all living from that space. So it's so great to just, have it be so diverse.
Yeah, and I think, people hear it in different ways, don't they? So when I was first introduced to this, after that first time I had that, the first evening with Jack Pransky, I went away, and something obviously trickled in, because I remember telling my clients back then, you should check out the 3 principles. You should check out Jack Pransky. You should check out Sydney Banks, And that little voice popped in my head, why don't you check it out? and once that happened, I was off. But I used to love watching things like these conversations. I loved back then watching. At the time, there was a lot with Rudy and Jen. Exactly. And they were the 3 Principles movies. I must have watched everything on there many times, and I couldn't get enough of it.
Exactly. That's how I felt too. And still feel, because I'm thoroughly enjoying yours. So it's just always so lovely. It's lovely to... I remember somebody making a comment once and saying, oh my God, you just have... Everybody you have on the show is so chilled out. They're just so happy. And I'm like, But anyway, I'm sorry. We've run out of time. So...
That's what
happens, right? Doesn't it? I could go on forever with you as well, but I can't. But look
Thank
forward.
you, Del. Thank
Oh,
you for inviting me. That was,
oh.
thank you.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for doing what you're doing, and doing it 90 and 90 and 90. So that's amazing. So hopefully I'll see you next May, if not sooner.
Absolutely, at the conference. Yeah, very
Yes.
excited to be
Yes.
on one of the
Absolutely.
panels there. Yeah,
Wonderful.
at the three principles addictions and recovery conference.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, take care, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
I will see them for sure. Lots of love
And
to
you
you and to
too.
everybody. Thank you for
Okay.
listening. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.